What's going on, Junkies? It's your boy Kenshiro. We're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. Today we're going to be settling a very, very hyped discussion about what exactly makes movies good. Like, everybody's got their opinion, whether a movie is good, whether a movie's bad. You know, people like to say the box office of a movie, you know, makes it look good, or, you know, the ratings and stuff like that makes it look good. But, you know, everybody's kind of confused, but we're going to try and basically settle the matter right here on our show live, and we hope you will join us for this very hyped discussion. Joining me on the show today is my good friend, Mr. GQ. Looking snapper there, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you all are ready for some very, very interesting discussions tonight, and stay classy.
Stay classy. Also, Q from Q Reviews is on the show today. What's up, man?
Oh, what's going on? Can't wait to get into this topic. Movies is, what I like to talk about, so we should get into some interesting debates tonight.
Yeah, we should. Sabrina Perry's back. It's been a while. How you been, lady?
I've been good. I'm excited to be back. Very excited. And I once had to write a 10-page paper on what the definition of good is for my degree, so hopefully it helps.
Hey, that should help out a lot in this discussion. Also joining the show, Super Nerd Plus. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, what's up? What's going on? I just made a new drink.
What's that?
It's called Banff. Just like Nightcrawler.
Like Nightcrawler? Like Nightcrawler?
Man. Yeah,
okay.
So it's a good concoction I made.
All right.
Pretty damn good.
All right, should be good. Also on the show is Fallen Marvel. How you doing, bro? Is he on the show yet? No, he hasn't joined the show yet. He will be on the show, but LGZ is here. How you doing, lady?
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm so excited for this topic tonight. Let's get it on.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hype. It is going to be pretty hype. So first and foremost, I kind of want to break you guys off on some pretty hype topics that came out today. One, I mean, I just have to say it. You know, yesterday, or was it yesterday? No, it was 2 days ago. Capcom asked us to pay attention to their feed because they were going to show us some, you know, give us a surprise or something. And then yesterday they hit us with this video. So I want you guys to take a look at it, and we can comment on it as we watch it. So here it is. Yeah, so Capcom decided to break us off and hit us with this custom-made, die-cut, plug-and-play home arcade of 16 of their, you know, arcade classic games that they had coming up. You know, you got Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, you got Darkstalkers, you got Street Fighter 2, but you also got Strider, Ghouls and Ghosts, and Aliens vs. Predator, which is, you know, kind of one of the big draws because Alien vs. Predator has never come out in home systems anywhere, so this is the first time you've done it. Wi-Fi enabled, so you can actually use it with, I think, other systems, but they want to pre-order this thing. So the going price for this thing is, get this, it's $260. Available this October. What do you guys think of that?
I'm fine with it.
Like they're trying to get their money up.
Nah.
What's say? Because GQ says he's fine. Super Nerd, you said what now?
It's like seem like they're doing the thing they always been trying to do, just trying to redo something just to get more money out of people. Like,
yeah,
it's like basically doing the HD stuff all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcos De La Cruz is checking in. He's coming in from Brooklyn. What's up, brother? Corey Green is also on the show. He says AVP, let's go, but the price, absolutely, I feel you on that. $260 for this. Come on now. What do you think, Q?
Yeah, I think the price for how many games you're getting is just, I can't warrant the price. $260, and to me it looked a little crazy to just have on my lap. I guess it's kind of cool, and the clear buttons is a little weird to me. It just kind of gives me a little weird vibe. But I think we're talking about after before the show. GQ said it has the soundwatch sticks in it. That's pretty dope. But with my emulator, on my my mod that I got on my home console, I got AVP and all that good stuff right now. I put some good sticks in it, and I love that thing. And I paid way less than $260. About the same price though, but I got a lot more. But so I can't really warrant paying this for 16 game. What is it? Puzzle Fighter, Street Fighter. There, Dog Soccer. It's cool. AVP is the big draw here, but I just can't. I can't warrant that price yet. But they're not for me. I don't see it selling a lot. To be honest with you, I don't know.
I hear that. What about you, Sabrina? What do you think of this thing?
I can't. I mean, I like Capcom, but not that much where I'm going to spend $260 for 16 games. Like, it's just, not worth it. It looks cool, but no.
Yeah. LGZ, you got any opinion on this thing?
I was just gonna say nah, because I think I watched something. Soldier Boy came out with a game console that had like 100 and some odd games cheaper than this. I'm good.
Soldier game. You can order it, but you ain't never getting that shit. I tried to get it to review it. I never got it. Yeah.
Get your money back.
Yeah, that would be because he wasn't authorized to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that there are other things out there cheaper with more games.
All right. Okay. So GQ. So why don't you in the chat before? I mean, in the pre-show, you were kind of telling to see people why might they? Well, how can they justify this thing being $260? Go ahead.
Again, I've never been a person that needs to justify the price unless it's an actual video game system. At the point where, if you're concerned about the price, then it's not for you. Realistically, a Sandwatch joystick, a good one, will probably hit you up for $200 right off the bat, but you're getting two of them. And again, the selection of games is not large because, they could have put a lot more games in it. But, for $260, it's like, you know what, I'm getting an enjoyment and a good plug and play experience for some games that I actually do like. Again, some of these games I already have in other collections. It's not really an issue of, do I need it? No. Do I want it? Yeah, I'll probably get it. Why not? It'll look cool in the background or in my collection. So I don't really care so much about the price. Some people were saying about the clear buttons, but I'm like, if you played in the arcade, how often do you actually look down at your hands?
Absolutely.
Once your hands are on the stick, you're good. You don't need to know where your buttons are because it's in muscle memory.
Right. So, it's like typing on the keyboard, man. You ain't looking at your hands. Yeah.
Right. So I mean that part doesn't really bother me. Again, I know why they did it. They wanted to, have a clean look for the logo.
Right.
So I mean, again, $260, it could have been more. So I mean, hey, I mean, let's be honest. People were going crazy about the arcade one-up machines, and how many games do you get with that? You got 4 games at most, or in some cases like the Galaxian machine, you only got 2. So let's not act like we haven't seen companies come out with stuff that's way overpriced for less.
I hear you, but at least the arcade one-up machines, they kind of look cool aesthetically. You can put it in your basement. It looks kind of cool, like not like a nice set piece. You know what I'm saying? This one,
it's on a 17-inch monitor. Have fun with that.
It's not that bad. I got 2 of them, and I love them. I love them.
See?
I just sit in my chair and I look over there.
But again, but again, which ones do you have?
Oh, I got the Pac-Man. I just keep Pac-Man, and then I got the Street Fighter too. But I modded it, so what I'm saying, I get more enjoyment out of that.
Beyond the modification, because you can modify anything. So let's put it just straight up retail. You spent $600 for a grand total of 5 games.
I think Pac-Man. Pac-Man's 2. Yep, and the other one's 5 games. Yeah. Right. But it did look cool, and I did have a lot of fun on Street Fighter. I had problems, of course. I did, and so you're right. I agree with you. Like the the cool factor of having something like that. So they're having the Capcom. Nobody's gonna have that if you come down there. Like, damn, you know what I'm saying? This thing is awesome. You know, you can, you know what I'm saying, you can go in there and, you know, have fun with that. But, you know, I guess it is the cool factor because, you know, I really like looking at the arcades when I see that artwork on the side, that Pac-Man. I'm just like, it just makes me happy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hey, it always comes down to it's worth it for somebody. And
that's true. That's very true.
I have a ton of sideshow figures that cost more than that arcade machine, and I don't really care.
This is also very true.
When the the arcade machine and the Capcom thing, so I'm not even really worried about that. It's a matter of, do you want it? Yes. Can you afford it? Yes. Go for it. If not, it's not for you. Straight up.
I mean, that's some pretty sound logic right there, man. I mean, there's kind of no arguing that. You know, when you kind of put it like that, there's really no arguments need to be had. All right, so the next topic we're going to talk about, this Dark Phoenix trailer came out earlier today. I actually didn't get a chance to see it. I was going to watch it before we started the show, but I think I'm good enough off of the last trailer. But this other little tidbit of news kind of dropped today. The movie is tracking for the lowest opening for an X-Men movie ever. What do you guys make of that? Q, you're the review guy on the show. What do you make of it?
Ooh, well, X-Men, Dark Phoenix been having trouble. You're not even hearing about the other ones, the other mutant when they were supposed to drop and they got kept getting pushed back. Then we hear these X-Men troubles with the Dark Phoenix reshoots. I think they did, you know, a ton of reshoots, and from the low box office and the word of mouth, and coming off of X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men is not in the best place right now to be releasing. I seen the last trailer and I kind of liked the trailer. I ain't gonna even lie. I like that. This looks kind of hype. I want to kind of, you know, see what they're gonna do with it. But I'm hearing terrible things. People have been, you know, laughing at the movie when they're not supposed to be laughing at things. Horrible test screenings, still reshoots. They're trying to re-edit it and get into, you know, a good spot to release it. But now, you know, with the Disney merger, they have no choice but to release it now and try to save some face with this X-Men Phoenix movie. That's what I think they're, you know what I'm saying, gonna try to do. They're gonna try to save grace and get as much money as they can, you know what I'm saying, while they can get it, because it's got to go now. It's already been shot. The same thing like Zack Snyder, Batman, Superman. They wanted to probably fire him in the middle of the movie, but, you know, he had to kind of finish it and bring it out. So I don't know. The last trailer wasn't bad, though. I'm going to see it, of course, first day because, you know what I'm saying, I'm a diehard fan. But I don't know. I got to see it. But it ain't looking too hot for this property right here, and that's a damn shame.
Sabrina, what did you think of the trailer? Did you see it?
I didn't see the one that dropped today, but I saw the one that dropped the other day, and I thought it looked good. But like the thing about that is we can't judge things on reviews because like that's the whole point of this topic today is like, is a movie good? Can we base it on like Rotten Tomatoes or any of the views? Is the hype gonna live up? You just don't know. You have to give it a chance.
Okay. You know what? She loves championing. No. Fallen Marvel's on the show. I'm gonna give him a chance to say it. So, Fallen Marvel, what did you think of this trailer? Did you get to see it?
I didn't even know they dropped a trailer today. Second of all, hi everybody. I'm a little late, fashionably late, everybody. So hey. But other than that, no. The only thing I remember was the last trailer, and since they essentially confirmed that Mystique dies in the last trailer,
right,
and they kind of spoiled that, and so everything else that happens after that, it's like I can't put any stock in this movie whatsoever. I'm not looking forward to it, and most of the bad stuff that's being said about it, I probably think is true. So that's all I have to say about it. I have no dog in this fight with this movie.
I was gonna say some movies that start with death though are really good.
I mean, but it's the Phoenix.
I'm just being optimistic. We all know.
I know
that
you are.
We know that I'm the one that's just gonna argue about giving things a chance.
Yeah, no. You're not the only one. LGZ will do the same thing. Look how she always sticks up for Batman versus Superman. Come on, you know she will do it. She loves sticking up for the underdog. She loves it, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
However,
See,
Considering that BVS was actually the New York Yankees, but
let her talk. What are we gonna say? What are we gonna say, girlfriend?
I do try to stick up for the underdog. It is true. However, I am not looking forward to this movie, and I think a lot of people are not looking forward to this movie only because the X-Men franchise in the last 3-4 movies has basically rewritten everything that they started off with. I think people are tired of that shit, and like, if they try to rewrite some shit again, it's going to be like, screw this. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that it's opening or it's slated to open low. You know what I mean? I mean, do I have faith? I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like. The trailer looked good, but I mean, I see a lot of good trailers on trash-ass movies, so I don't know what it's going to be. Can't see it till we actually see it. But I am like, I mean, I get the people's frustration for sure and with the X-Men franchise.
The first thing that came to my mind was, oh, they got a spaceship in there, so they're going out of space, so they follow a little bit of the source material. Other than that, it'll be trash.
Complete trash. Complete trash.
So they're basically saying she doesn't have the Phoenix growing in her like a filtering cancer, and now they're going out of space to rectify that. Is that what they're telling us?
I don't know what they're telling us.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that wasn't. They rewrote that. Remember in the one where they killed Charles, the old Charles, where they killed him. He came back in the new body. Like that was she was like a little kid when she had that. So like none of that makes sense right now.
Well,
yeah.
Well, here's the problem.
I'm just saying.
Hold on. I gotta do something real fast because
Go right ahead.
I gotta do something real fast. This one's for one of my kids. One of my kids that my son plays baseball with. I'm gonna say happy birthday to Corey. Corey Bell Jr. He's watching the show. Just turned 15. Just turned 15 today. He says X-Men Dark Phoenix is trash. I don't know what y'all thinking. That movie is utter garbage. Get that movie out of here with that nonsense. That movie will fail. X-Men hasn't been good since Days of Future Past. He's not wrong on that, actually. He's not wrong on that. And that was 5 years ago. And again, happy birthday, Corey. Thanks for watching my stream. I'll probably see you tomorrow at the game, and I'll give you a noogie then. So, what were you gonna say? What were you gonna say, GQ? I think you were getting ready to say something. Go ahead.
I just like the fact that he called you Key9.
Hey, but you know what? Hey,
that's all sorts of awesome. But no, here's the problem, and again, it goes back to the X-Men is the probably most accurate representation of comic book retconning. The fact that like a new writer, new story, like, hey, let's change up these characters, because the movie's timelines are all over the place. It's like you had White Queen show up in X-Men Origins, but as a teenager, but she's a full-grown adult back in the 60s, which is, it's just like, okay, whatever. And then you had, like Elle said, you had Phoenix and Dark Phoenix show up in the kind of between X2 and then fully on in X3. Then you had her show up in Age of Apocalypse with, the Phoenix power. Yeah. Now all of a sudden she's got to go to outer space to get the Phoenix power. It's like, wasn't that already in her?
Yeah.
So I mean, it goes to show when you don't have a cohesive plan of here's what we want to do with the overarching story, this is what you get. So I mean, it's gonna be great for them to be like, look, this is the last X-Men movie under Fox's rule or under Fox's direction, and we can put it to bed, let them sit for like a couple years, let Feige, or like I said, if I was the one doing it, I'd let James Gunn oversee the X-Men possibilities.
Dude, that would be awesome, actually. Yeah, that would be really awesome.
And then go from there. If they could do that, and then bring the X-Men into the fold, into the Avengers whole hookup, and cross those storylines and do that, I'd love to see that. But the X-Men for right now needs to go on the shelf, just straight up, because you got to get this taste out of people's mouths for a little while, because this is looking pretty convoluted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I wonder what they're gonna do with their other movie too. Was it not New Mutants? What's the other one that was supposed to come out with, like the horror dark one?
It's New Mutants. Yeah. That's New Mutants.
They're still gonna release it. They're still gonna release it.
They're still gonna release it in theaters too.
I would just throw that thing away.
Yeah.
Give it to Netflix. No, they can't even give it to Netflix no more.
Yeah, give it to Disney. They can't even give it to Netflix somewhere. You're right. You're right. They can't. You're right. They can't. So here you go. So the next thing, let's go to an actually good movie. Star Wars Episode 9 trailer came out a few days ago. Set the internet ablaze. The Rise of Skywalker. So a lot of people bashed The Last Jedi, but they were really hyped to hear Palpatine cackling at the end. They were hyped to see Rey jump over Kylo Ren's TIE fighter. So, is this restored some faith in the franchise? What do you think?
Still remains to be seen, as fickle as these Star Wars fans are right now. So, fortunately for me, I haven't been on the hate train for the recent Star Wars films. I've actually enjoyed what they've done. Lots of folks have gone back and forth about, like, Disney ruined this, that, boycotted Han Solo, which was not a bad movie, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, all we can do is wait and see. But there's some interesting things coming down the pike as far as Star Wars related stuff in general with this. And then I believe was The Fallen Order at the end of this year, The Mandalorian's on Disney Plus. I would say right now it's looking good for faith to be restored for Star Wars fans. But once again, we know how fickle they can be. So it just remains to be seen.
Very. What about you, LGZ?
Well, I was kind of optimistic, and then I saw The Rise of the Skywalker, and I was like, we'll see. That's all I can say. We'll see.
Okay.
She's a Trekkie.
Hey, don't you be bad mouthing Trekkies on my show, dude. I'm one too. I'm not gonna stand for that. I'm not gonna stand for that.
I feel so sorry for you that you have to be a Trekkie after your whole new cast is just done with the Trek. Because Trek was.
Hey, that's all right. I got Discovery, so I'm good with that. Discovery's a damn good show. Discovery's a damn show. What did you think of the trailer, man?
The Last Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker.
Like, straight up, like, I'm always going to be a Star Wars fan. Like, even Last Jedi had some redeeming parts and different things that I did enjoy in it. Everything obviously related to lightsabers. As you can see, I'm a big fan of lightsabers. But when it really comes down to it, the trailer was, again, it's a teaser trailer, so I'm not going to really harp on it too much because they were only basically whetting your palate. That's all the job of that particular teaser was supposed to be. Because no story points, you don't know what the heck is going on, and I'm fine with that. Now, her staring down Kylo about to run her over with a TIE fighter was interesting. I think the buildup was too daggone long, because half of the trailer is that scene, and I'm like, you need to give me a little bit more than that. Like, doggone it, if you're gonna block a couple of shots from a TIE fighter straight up, Force Unleashed style, then you got me hooked if you do that. But just to see her run away and then jump, it's like, okay, that's nice for jumping the shark, but it just happens to be a TIE fighter. So,
you know what? For real, I thought that's what she was going to do. I thought she was going to she was going to block a few TIE fighter bolts. I thought it was going to be dope.
Give me something, but it's like, dude, realistically, if I had command of the Force like that, I could do the same thing. Just run away and then jump at the right time.
Right.
So I need more than that. Now, granted, again, it's a teaser. We're going to get probably sometime just before the Spider-Man movie comes out, probably another, slightly longer trailer, or maybe even, later on in the end of summer. But for them to throw that out there and then Rise of Skywalker, a lot of people are kind of tired of Skywalker, Skywalkers in general. So who knows what we're going to do with this? But, I am glad Palpatine, one of the only bad guys to ever, get his plan to fruition, is going to be back. Because, big bad, big evil. It'd be very interesting to see him come back and, kind of take over from Kylo, because it'll make Kylo look like even more of a punk. Because it's like, dude, you finally the supreme leader, and Palpatine's clone or something comes back and kicks you out of the chair. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But, again, I don't know. We will definitely see what happens with the Rise of Skywalker or whatever. Right. But again, J.J. Abrams, he does an amazing job with Star Wars, and like I said, he made Star Trek palatable. So I'll give him his props on this. We'll see what he can do with this. So I'll turn it over to him. He wants to talk.
Oh, nice. Nice segue. How about you, Super Nerd? Are you hyped for Star Wars Episode 9?
I haven't even seen Last Jedi or Solo yet, so that goes.
You know what? Okay, you can cut it off now because we don't need to talk to you now. So how about you, Q?
Damn, homie.
Hey, I need people that have actually seen the trailer.
Wait. Hold on. You ain't seen Fifth Element yet. So
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? It's on Netflix. How do you know? How do you know?
You would have told us.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Why do I gotta tell y'all anything? It's on Netflix. Why do I gotta tell you?
We've been telling
you
for 3 years.
I don't care. So what?
Correct, sir.
Okay, whatever. No, you're not.
You don't sound too confident about that question, brother.
It's on Netflix. I ain't got to tell y'all nothing.
He ain't got no excuse.
Yeah, you ain't got no excuse, exactly.
Hey, I don't need no comments from the peanut gallery. Tell them pipe down. Q. What'd you think of the trailer, man?
Oh yeah, first off, like you said, is a teaser trailer just to get us kind of ready for Star Wars. And I gotta agree with GQ, that build up, that breathing for 30 seconds was a little long, and then we I was like, yo, what was going on? Then her running down, like we needed that damn money shot at least in that trailer. She should have forced to unleash that bitch and cut it in half or something. You know what I'm saying? Like right. I needed just a little bit something. It was cool to see Lando. Of course, Sidious at the end was kind of cool. I got excited, but I got my eye open. You know, I'm not on the Star Wars hate train either. I enjoyed Last Jedi a bit, and I enjoyed Solo a bit. I didn't hate it, but of course we want an all type movie, which is hard to make out here. So I think the pacing that J.J. Abrams can do with his direction, I think The Force Awakens was paced very good, like a Star Wars movie. So I think he would do a good job. This was just a teaser, so I'm there day one either way because I'm Star Wars, you know what I'm saying, fan. So I'm there day one. But I seen the Mandalorian leak footage, and that got me really fucking excited. Like all the, you know what I'm saying? I felt like I was truly in Star Wars. I just felt that magic on that one just from the little, camera footage that I seen. But this is just a teaser trailer. So I'm confident in J.J. Abrams that he might bring us a good movie, but we shall see. So I got my eye open, I got my eye looking at Rise of Skywalker. So I'm kind of excited, but got my eye open,
Right. I hear you. So, but for me, I thought the trailer was pretty cool. I know a lot of people watched it and rewatched it. Miao Yin said she's not watching anything else. No full trailer, nothing. This teaser was it. She's done. She wants to remain pure from here on out. I thought the trailer was really good. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with it. And we'll just have to see where it goes from here. So the next topic I want to talk about is the PlayStation 5 rumors came out. And the PlayStation 5 rumors are talking about 8K graphics, talking about backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games. It's got a solid state hard drive. So I wanted to ask all of you guys, are you impressed? I almost don't even need to ask GQ because he's going to get it anyway. So his opinion matters, but I know he's going to get it. So it's not even a reason to ask him if he's impressed because he doesn't care. He's going to get it anyway. So I want to ask. Let me ask LGZ. You hearing these details? You're not even really that much of a gamer, so I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting or anything. I can skip you. Okay, bet I can skip you. So, Q, what do you think? What do you think of when you heard all these details? What do you think?
Well, I'm about a month and a half of finally getting my PS4 Pro playing on my 4K TV now, and I'm playing Devil May Cry 5, and it's crispy as hell, dude. I'm having so much fun just looking at it. So now I'm about to get the 5. I gotta get it now. I mean, it's gonna be just as crispy. 8K. I don't know what that is. What? It's what I'm saying? The technology's not ready for it yet, but I guess it will be. the lifespan of the PlayStation 5 will be. So of course I'm excited. I really, you know what I'm saying, like Sony products. So as soon as that pre-order pop on that PlayStation 5, I got to get it. Backwards compatibility is, I guess, cool for me, you know, be able to play all the, you know, the 4K ready games. So I'm excited. I hear it's going to be super fast. What was that load time for the Spider-Man for the fast travel? I think it was
like 13 seconds
compared to 15.
Yeah, 1 second compared to 15. Yeah, so it sounds like it's gonna be pretty dope. I'm gonna get it too. Sabrina, what did you think when you heard of all these details?
I'm definitely gonna get it. That's just like I have to.
You have to.
I have to. I mean, I have a 4. I had it like. There's just like it's backwards compatible. Like it's faster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is like I don't have the TV for it, so like that's the thing is like for me, if I got it, I would have to get a new TV because like my TV doesn't even match my PlayStation.
So you mean you need an excuse to get a new TV, and this is going to do it for you? Okay, all right.
Well, I don't need a new excuse to get a new TV. I'm just saying that it's just a bonus, right? Like you know that it's so much better. Like, yeah, it just.
I hear you.
Anytime something's backwards compatible, it's faster, and you like. If you're already getting it, it's just like worth it.
Yeah, but for me, I was really hoping that because some of the early rumors were saying it was going to be backwards compatible with everything, and I was really hoping to hear that. I was a little disappointed to hear that didn't end up being the case. Like, it's not backwards compatible with PS3, PS2, PS1. I know that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to a lot of people, but I guess for some people that have been legacy owners of PlayStation products that still have some of their old favorite games that they don't necessarily want to play on emulators or they're hard to acquire via emulators, it'd be nice to have this going, especially those that maybe have purchased.
This is true because
two
I
or
have
three
so many
PS3s and they've all yellow lighted on you and you kind of are over the whole yellow light of death, type deal and all of that. My Blood is Ink says hard pass. Oh boy, that's because you just use a hardcore Xbot. I know what this is. I know what this is, Mike. You ain't fooling nobody. I know what this is. Hard pass my ass. Whatever.
I just speaking of PlayStation, I just like replayed Resident Evil. Like on the PlayStation 4, like I just got 0. So I'm starting to replay that again, and it made me really happy. So I mean, like, if it's backwards compatible, or like if you could just get things like that, I mean.
Oh, you know what? That's the other thing too. Johnny P is over on YouTube. He just brought this up. About Xbox doubling down on 100% digital console. This one is going to have an optical drive. What do you think about that, GQ?
Having the optical drive is definitely a necessity because, again, the PlayStation 5 will more than likely be the third 4K Blu-ray player in my household. So that in and of itself is a necessity because, again, I don't care how much people are getting so used to streaming their stuff and download only and blah, blah, blah. When those freaking internet providers start throttling your downloads because you're constantly trying to download 100 gigabyte files 2 or 3 times a month for new games, or your internet provider suddenly decides, or even Sony or Microsoft servers decide to throttle you because, oh, guess what? We've got 15 million people trying to download the same thing you're trying to download right now, so have fun with those slow download speeds. Until the internet infrastructure in this country matches up to what it is in, let's say, Korea and some of the other, places countrywide, not just certain areas, then digital only is still a pie in the sky dream, and you're not really going to get a very good consumer experience out of that. So having an optical drive is a major advantage because, again, you can always buy your disc. And I'll have my, file downloaded off of the disk, ready to play, especially if it's as fast as they're claiming, with an SSD drive. It should be. I should be going, basically like Grand Theft Auto 6 or whatever. I should be able to play that probably within 30 minutes versus whoever's downloading that 120 plus gigabyte file that game is going to be. Have fun with, your couple of hours wait to get your new game. You can get it preloaded. Okay, that's nice. When you start running out of space, have fun with that, because you got to re-download it again if you ever want to play it again.
Right. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. Having an optical drive is great and all, but it also cuts down, because there's always these, there's the rise of the day one patch where you always gotta wait. The game is never complete right out the box. You always gotta install it. You gotta download this day one patch, in order to even play the damn game. But if you have the optical disc and you just say, hey, screw it, I want to play the game for a little while, I can play the game for a little while I was waiting to do the day one patch or whatever. So there's a point in GQ's favor as well. So there's that.
Not only that, I mean, here's even with the backwards compatibility, because I'm not really hurting on the backwards compatibility. They could go back to 1, but why? Let's be 100% realistic about this. Anybody that had a backwards compatible PS3, I did, I believe, Daikuji's not on the show did, I believe.
I had one, yeah.
I did.
Let's be real 100% honest. How often on your modern TV did you go back and play some of those PS1 games? Just be straight up honest. How often did you do it in a percentage of time out of the lifetime of that system?
Like maybe 1 or
probably
2%.
20. For me, about 25%, because I still kept a good portion of mine.
2%, maybe. Not a whole lot. I'm be honest.
But at least my PS1, like I didn't have the PS2 backward compatible one, but I did still put like some gaming on my on my PS1 games. But I see what you're saying though.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
I see that.
Let's and not even just that. How often? Yes, you can. Let's say for example, they came out with a super player that could play VHS and DVD and Blu-ray. And
you say VHS?
But there's a reason for that. I'm saying that because let's be real. The reason I buy so many 4K Blu-rays and rebuy certain movies is because the TV that I have makes these older media look like crap.
You absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like I was over at his house, right, and he had popped in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Dude, the transfer. And this was what the DVD version, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, this is the DVD version. Dude, we could see the black carpet in the background. We could see the wires still hanging off of the cake. Oh, dude, it was bad. It was really bad. It was really, really bad.
So when you have an enhanced console, an enhanced TV, it's convenient to be able to go back and play some of that old stuff. But realistically, how often are you really going to do it? And it's like, okay, granted, it's probably a very minuscule amount of the processing power for these new cards. I'd rather most of that processing power go to kick out, especially if you're doing 8K. If they're really going the 8K
ray
route,
tracing,
I want all of my processing power to go to that daggone system.
Yeah.
Right.
And Samsung just dropped a new 8K TV that might be in my future with this system.
Wow.
So
because I look at it this way with the backwards compatibility for the PS4 game. See, what I think that's going to do is for a lot of the people that were, because we had for a long time people complaining about games couldn't keep up to 60 frames per second with a lot of stuff or whatever and all that or whatever. So when you actually able to bring the PS4 games and bring them over to PS5, and more than likely they might have like an enhanced patch for that conversion, and then you have games that can flawlessly be 60 frames per second. Like I think it was like a big thing for like Spider-Man when it first came out. They said that the game was locked at 30 frames per second and whatnot or whatever, or something like that. And it's like, okay, if we could like fluently get 60 frames per second and like it's completely fluent, no frame rate, it can load all this stuff or whatever, that's actually a pretty good selling point, especially when you have such a big library as the PS4. Because PS4 has an amazing library of games.
Right.
So, and like it's definitely it's definitely interesting because crazily enough, even with Xbox One's backwards compatibility, it kind of hurt my feelings when they put Ghostbusters on a backwards compatibility and I played it and it still has terrible frame rate. It's like, dude, like it literally has the same choppy frame rate as it did on the 360 and PS3. I'm like, wow, like y'all couldn't have fixed that. Like with this, like it was that game literally locked at 30 frames per second, like the whole time. Like, but you know, like I just think but like I said, like I just think that's a good selling point for at least for the PS4 games. Like I'm not really too worried about the PS3 and PS2 games or whatever, because most of the people I know probably still even kept their PS2s and PS3s anyway. So. Right. You know, but definitely for the PS4 backwards compatibility on the 5, I really think that's definitely a good idea.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the main topic. So the main topic that hopefully was bringing everybody out today. If you want everybody to join in on the discussion, you got some friends that have a very valid opinion. You want to get them in the chat so we can kind of argue this whole thing out. Tag them in the chat box right now, or share this video with all your friends. Get them in here. Let's get this this chat room on and popping. So what brings us out today is probably the most argued debate topic in genre entertainment, and that is what determines a movie being considered good, right? When you hear you got everybody's got their opinions on a movie, right? You can think Man of Steel was good. I do. Other people will call it trash, and they'll say it's trash. I don't really agree with their assessment of that, but it didn't really make a lot of money. But I can view Venom as being complete trash. Other people can say it's good, and it also has higher audience ratings than Venom, and it also. Audience ratings than Man of Steel, and also made a lot more money than Man of Steel, to the tune of $800 million worldwide. So I want to ask all of you guys, this is something that we kind of really need to come together and put our heads on and ask ourselves, okay, besides opinion, what makes a movie good to you? So Q, I want to ask you. You do Q reviews. Do a great job on Q reviews. You do put out a video almost every single week. You want to put your channel in the chat. Go ahead and do that. But what to you, besides opinion, makes a movie good? And try and keep it brief because we got a lot of people that want to talk about it.
No problem. Like what makes a movie good to me is how it makes me feel, no matter what other people think. Of course I listen to the opinion. I go to the websites. I look at the Rotten Tomatoes.
No. Wait. Besides your opinion, what makes a movie? Yeah, besides opinion, what makes a movie good to you? Like all the other factors, what makes it good?
It's all subjective, right? It's like art. Like what makes a movie good to me is good pacing. Of course, good acting, well put together plot that keep me engaged the entire time I sit my ass down in that seat that I don't want to leave. Of course, I'm going to bring Green Book here just for a short example. I forgot it was a movie. I thought they were real people for a second. I didn't want to see hair harmed on her head, things like that. When I'm totally engaged and I don't want to leave the seat, that makes a good movie to me. And sometimes it's just guilty pleasure. Friday 13th is not going to win an Oscar, but to me, right. Coming up, the nostalgic reasons, I love to see kids fornicate and go out in the woods and swim and get murdered by Jason, because Jason is the hero of those movies. So,
Jason's a cock blocker, for the record.
That's the biggest cock blocker ever. But that's that's my boy. They say, don't swim, But those movies make me very excited. Like some movie. I used to love Howard the Duck, man. That's everyone hates that one, but like to me though, I just thought it was good though. But
right,
it's a different. It's all subjective too. So like what makes a good movie to somebody else may not be a great movie to you. You might love Solo and somebody might hate it, but I think overall, just how a movie is put together, I think you can like people kind of generally love Forrest Gump because everybody kind of agrees
right.
that was a good movie.
Right.
So
right. So you're saying overall, you're trying to say like basically the quality of the movie, the things that can't be argued, like the quality of the movie, the acting, the directing, the story itself, that type of stuff can go into what makes a movie good. So Sabrina, I want to bring you in. What do you think, besides your own personal opinion, what makes a movie what makes a movie good in majority of people's eyes?
I would say characterization. story, like plot. And I would agree that pacing, because like sometimes if something's too slow, you're gonna lose interest in it.
Mhm.
But I mean, also cinematography or how the movie looks, sometimes that plays a big part. But at the same time, like you can have a movie that looks really good that just is terrible, or has like really cool transitions or like camera movement, but that movie might be considered like terrible because like the story or the character isn't good. Like for example, like Citizen Kane is like listed as like one of the 100 movies of all time, but part of the reason for that is just what it did for cinema. Like you know, with like a pan or a tilt, or like how it crossed and then like a push in, some of those things are in that movie, and it was like maybe the first time, you know, I'm not like a historian on movies, but maybe it's like one of the first times that was like ever in a movie, and part of that creates the atmosphere, right? So if you can feel a character or the story, that also helps make a movie good. But I will say that like Jumanji is like in Rotten Tomatoes, Jumanji, like the original Jumanji, is like listed as it's not listed as a very good movie.
Which one are we talking about? We talking about the old one, or we talking about the new one?
The original one with
okay, Robin Williams.
But the new one, the new one is rated higher. So
right.
It's 56% for like the original is what Rotten Tomatoes gave it. And then 76 for the new one. But like, and then more people like the new one, 87%, than the original. However, I really like the original Jumanji. That's like one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up. And for me, that movie is good. So like that's a point with like numbers, and I don't know what made them say that, you know, the first one isn't as good as like the remake.
Okay. So a lot of people are saying
essentially the story's a little bit different, right? But
right.
Right.
And a lot of people will say the new one is better.
Right. Invoking the same feelings.
Right. But I think because the new one was a lot the new one kind of spoke more to the modern times, you know, kind of being immersed in the game instead of, you know, the game coming out to the outside world. And of course, you know, like Q even said, you know, who's the actors? You had The Rock in there, you had Karen Gillan in there, you had Jack Black, you had Kevin Hart. Those are, you know, those kind of made people, you know, want to see the movie, you know, and say, you know, it obviously did very well in the box office too, which is, you know, probably another factor, but we'll get into that later. So LGZ, I want to ask you, someone as someone that kind of like has a little bit, you know, different taste than, I mean, everybody gets their own taste. You know, everybody's got different tastes and stuff like that. But to you, like, what outside factors besides your opinion determines the movie good? Like, if you were to say you look at a movie, right, and you think the movie is trash, but other people like the movie, what makes you think, you know, what makes you think is a good contributing factor to saying that the movie is good to you?
For me, it would definitely be the storyline, the plot, and the cinematography. Those are the first three things that I look at. Actually, oddly enough, I was having a conversation about, we were talking about 300, the second 300 today. I was talking with somebody, I was telling them in preparation for tonight, we were talking about that movie, and we were just talking about how, even though it was, you know, it was not a great movie, but some of the visuals on it were really good, and then some of them were really trash. And, you know, we just kind of just got into this debate about it. But it just, again, the plot, how it looks, you know what I'm saying, the storyline, does it keep me interested? Those types of things. Those are things I look for and say a good movie. So yes, sometimes I may see a movie that a lot of people think sucks, but, you know, I'm looking at it for different stuff.
Okay, and I can respect that. A lot of people can respect that because everybody's opinion is their own. But if you thought a movie you saw was trash, and like say, you know, everybody else, you know, loved it, like, you know, okay, let's flip this. You love Batman vs Superman. Of course, this is always going to come back to you because you always love sticking up for it. Everybody else can say it's trash. But everybody, you know, but you say it's good. So does that mean that does in that case, does majority rule? Or, you know, is it a bad movie because everybody else says it's a bad movie? Or
not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, I like Batman versus Superman probably for all the wrong reasons, right?
probably. Probably.
I still like it, right? But
Yeah.
a lot of people may not like the movie, and I get that. I mean, there are some trash parts in the movie. I will definitely admit that. But
Right.
Overall, I mean, I like it for my reasons, and I can't tell anybody, hey, like it for my reasons. You have to like it because you want to like it, not because I like it. But does that mean that because if a majority of people say, oh, this is a bad movie, does that necessarily make it a bad movie? No.
Okay.
That's
right.
that's subjective. All that type of stuff is subjective. So I can't say what you think is not what I think, or the next person who might like it, or the next person who may not like it. Like I can't. One person or the majority can't speak for us all. So
okay.
No.
All right. So I'm gonna turn it over to GQ, and I want to open it up to you with this new question. What significance, GQ, do you think does, if any, does the box office have on determining a movie is good?
Box office obviously is more for bragging rights, I guess, in some form. But even those bragging rights are kind of meaningless if you don't have an actual vested interest. But and I mean a monetary vested interest, not just a vested interest of, oh, hey, my team, my side won. It's like, okay, if you don't invest in your side. But anyway, that's beside the point. I think the box office is more or less just kind of an indicator of how many theaters did they release it in, how much advertising did they do, and how many people had time to go to the movies to see it. Okay. That's really all you can truly glean from box office, because again, Marvel, and I remember the post that I think went up yesterday, or maybe it might have been the day before, about the first six movies from Marvel Studios proper, and then the first six from DC. Now, granted, those first six are flawed from DC because Green Lantern is when they actually tried to start their cinematic universe, and it flopped. So if they're being 100% honest, what is that? Aquaman isn't on that list. Right. Because you got to go one movie back and start from Green Lantern, because that's when they really started to try. So, and again, that's besides the point. Realistically, all that, even just that particular thing, all that really means is Iron Man set the standard for something that became kind of an accepted norm. These comic book movies the technology has caught up to the people's imagination that were making these films. The landscape is wide open, and people expect these things to, have a certain level of quality or a certain, whatever. And people are, they're going to pay to go see it. Now, your box office is really just word of mouth. Did enough people say that, hey, I want to go check this out? Like, for example, we're about to see another Disney black hole monetarily for any other film coming out.
Absolutely.
It's about to start
right next week. Right.
That movie, box office for that movie, that's what I'm saying. Box office for that movie is almost a non-existent need to even talk about it. It's going to make money. It's a foregone conclusion that that's probably going to be another $2 billion movie.
Oh, I think it's going to I think it might catch Avatar, to be honest with you. I think it might catch another
It might. It very well might. Yeah.
So it's like saying box office, okay, fine. They've already raised the bar so high and the expectations so high that it's like, dude, everybody and their mom is going to see this movie, even if they don't necessarily really like Marvel movies that much or whatever. And people that say that always make me laugh, because it's like, okay, well, I don't like them. They're all the same. You don't know movies then if you really think that 22 different movies are all the exact same thing. There's something different and nuance in every single one of them. And if you're truly a film buff and an eagle-eyed viewer, you'd be able to pull the nuance and the understanding of the cinematography, the camera tricks, the various things that they do in all of the different films. Because unless 22 films are directed by the same director 22 different times, there's going to be major differences between them. I don't give a damn if the structure is similar. Damn it, most of them are origin stories or continuations of an ongoing particular thing anyway. So, and if you want to be 100% honest, I think there's only 7 or 8 different types of stories that can be told in all of literature, film, word of mouth stories, and all that other sort of thing anyway. So let's just be real. There's going to be similarities. That's how things work. Right. But as far as the box office part of things, it's honestly, it's a bragging rights thing, man. It's not even really a true indicator, because, for example, the original Superman and I think I had it pulled up. The original Superman made like 175 million, like throughout its entire lifetime. Now, granted, inflation probably would bring that up to like half of whatever. But it's like, does that really mean anything? It's like, let's just be real. It was the first superhero movie ever done with the most popular superhero of comic book film, period. Right. And it was, what other competition did Superman have? None.
So absolutely none. Absolutely.
But again, by today's standards, that's a failure. That number, at least, is a failure. So what does the box office really matter?
So it goes back to that meme that was posted yesterday, right? Because everybody was saying, they couldn't believe that DC had more money than Marvel had.
Right.
And they were like, hell no, these are not, those DC movies are trash or whatever. And I was like, see, I'm watching y'all because Superman is a better brand. I'm saying like better branding. Yes, Marvel is kicking ass right now, but they still will never they'll probably catch up to DC at some point. But as long as DC puts out movies, Superman is a better brand than.
Hold on.
What?
Let me give you a quick rebuttal. Let me give you a quick rebuttal for that and an explanation as to why that's an interesting but flawed logical argument. Superman back then, we're talking 1978?
1978.
Yeah. 1978, when the original one came out, it had zero competition at the cinema because, again, it was an experiment. Can we get Superman on screen, big budget, Christopher Reeve, can a man fly? And you'll believe a man can fly once we're done. That was the goal. That was, what they did.
And they did it.
11 years later, Batman
89.
We got Batman. Can we do a very good dark interpretation of Batman? Because obviously Dark Knight Returns had just come out right around that time and blah, blah, blah. Tim Burton did his thing. Cool. Fast forward to Marvel doing their thing. Can we do a connected universe that just transcends and goes through all this one through line through all of these different films going to release over a 10-year span? And they did it. So Superman being, a great brand, there's no doubt about that. Kids are born today that already know the Superman story and never picked up a book in their life.
Right.
But at the end of the day, why is it that Superman and his great brand couldn't bring Justice League to $1 billion and crappy Aquaman could? That brand loyalty, that brand greatness has changed. It has shifted because B-list characters like Iron Man, I'm throwing Captain America in there because I never really cared too much about him, Thor, blah, 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 have become the new household names, have become the new standard. Superman is great, but damn it, his brand didn't do a damn thing for him in the last couple of outings he's had. Now,
it's the execution.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Marvel had they had the plan and they became the biggest thing in entertainment ever. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got the ace in the hole, but if you know what I'm saying, renege, hey. Yeah,
right.
And that's right.
And
that's what happened.
You got to think of all of it in total, right? So it's not just the movies; it's the animated shit. It's everything. DC still has the better shit. Animated wise,
how much money do they make off their animation? How much money do they make off their animation?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all. So that doesn't really factor in. But okay, so that's an opinion. But that's an opinion. That's not necessarily a fact. It's an opinion. So what I'm saying is like box office, I feel, and Super Nerd, I want you to jump in too because we haven't heard from you. But box office, I feel, is a good pulse of audience reception, right? Because let's take a look. Hellboy bombed like crazy.
Oh my god!
Hellboy bombed like crazy, right? It didn't even make back its production budget. That's how bad that movie bombed. And
12 million.
Right. It didn't even make, it was bad. But Shazam, on the other hand, was made on a very shoestring budget comparatively to the other DC, movies. And while it's not absolutely blowing the box office away, it's doing a respectable amount, right? Because I think a lot of people have gotten good word of mouth and, following off the trails of Aquaman doing very successfully back in December. I think a lot of people have been more open to watching Shazam despite, their apprehension of it looking kind of cheesy. So I think box office is a good, it's a good metric. It should never be used as the end all be all, but I think it definitely should go into determining a movie is, good, because if it doesn't pull in the, a good amount of money, obviously the movie wasn't good to even sustain itself in the theaters. Obviously,
Shawshank bombed in the theaters.
Right. But let's go ahead to Super Nerd. Go ahead and say what you were gonna say, man.
What I think about that is it's kind of like people winning awards in the music industry. This album comes out of left field and it has 11 nominations, but you never heard of it.
Right.
What makes it so great? I never heard of the shit. So when movies say, "Oh, number one movie in the country," like La La Land, I never even heard of La La Land until it started coming in all these awards and what I've never heard of the movie. So my thing is saying that box office stuff, yeah, it kind of works, but at the same time, it's like, where the hell does the movie come from? Who saw this movie? Nobody's saying nothing. Are people saying it because the studios are saying it because they're paying for it to be this number one movie in the country that you never heard of? Like, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time, because I've never heard of half of these movies and they're getting all this appraisal for something that's, it may be subpar.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean,
saying that
is making all this money, like you said, Shazam was like, I haven't seen
Right.
Shazam yet, but okay, it made its money because people probably was looking for something to gravitate to, because of Marvel is making all this money, because we already know what Marvel's going to bring to the table.
Right. So let me use this, and and GQ kind of maybe touched on it a little bit, but I want to kind of expound on it a little further. And how I view box office having some merit of value. He views Aquaman as a sucky character. He probably always will. His opinion will never change on that, right? Because it's been colored by our previous experience with the Super Friends. Even though he was dope as hell in the DC animated universe, but that's not this, right? So when Aquaman was first coming out, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's Aquaman, it's trash. It's not going to be very good at all." Right? It comes out, it has a very respectable, I thought it was a good movie. It had a respectable showing at the box office on its preview night. It opens up, and it kind of beats its competition of what it had to beat: Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, and a couple other movies, and it did that, right? But what ended up happening was, like GQ also said, the word of mouth saying that this movie was pretty good. So the movie started to have legs, and week after week after week after week after week, it kept winning the box office until it eventually won $1 billion. And that's why I think box office, is a very important metric to view whether a movie is good or not. Because even though GQ says it's not a good movie, the majority says it is a good movie because they've actually paid to see it more than one time. A movie doesn't make $1 billion by people seeing it once. Right?
Hold on.
Right?
What about box office like flops though? Like ones that just like.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Obviously, even though you like it must not be
good movies that are really did not make any money in the box office. Like,
okay, but are those genre movies though? I'm talking like genre blockbuster movies, right?
Hold on, but here's what you're forgetting. Let's be real. That movie dropped in November? End of November?
December.
So preview night was like end of November. The preview night was end of November. Preview night was end of November.
Right. So let's just say that same movie drops next week.
Now see, wait, now stop, man. Now
you still think Aquaman's gonna do $1 billion? Let's be real.
Wow, this guy wants to use circumstantial evidence to back himself up.
But
now look,
that's part of why box office in and of itself is not necessarily a good indicator. Because let's just be 100% on this. If a movie drops at the wrong time, it can die. Super duper, again, back in the day. Austin Powers Austin Powers literally had a teaser trailer that said, if you only see one movie this summer, go see Star Wars. But if you see two, check out Austin Powers 2. Because they knew full well they were dropping at the same summer as Phantom Menace when it first dropped. And it was like you hadn't had a Star Wars movie in 20 years. So box office timing, when a movie comes out, is really why certain movies make a lot of money and certain ones don't. Let's just be 100% honest about that.
Okay,
it came out in the middle of the Marvel summer, Infinity War. Do you really think that movie would have made $1 billion still?
No, I don't. No, honestly, I don't. But and to your point, that's right. Scheduling is very important in determining, the length of a movie. But I still say, if Bumblebee was good, it could have taken heat off of Aquaman. If Mary Poppins was even better, it could have taken heat off Aquaman, but it didn't. I'm just saying that
you're proving my point.
But no. But what I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. The movie doesn't make $1 billion, right? If people don't return to see it, it'd be one thing if people saw it one time and say, "Oh, okay, I'm done. It wasn't very good. I'm not gonna go back." But no, they kept coming back, and that's why it made $1 billion. That's why it had length, and that's why I say box office is pretty good. Huh?
Was nothing anything else playing besides that?
Everything was playing.
But wait. Right. Nobody had to hold a gun. Nobody had to hold a gun to their hands to go back and see Aquaman again. That's what I'm trying to say. Nobody had to hold a gun to their heads. They didn't have to go and see it.
Okay. Let's
Warner Brothers was surprised by the success of Aquaman. I think.
Right.
Let's put this back into the perspective of what I just said, because again, it goes back to you have Jason Momoa shirtless.
Oh man, not this thing again. Come on.
Hold on. Let's go back to it. You had Leonardo DiCaprio, super heartthrob. Was Titanic really a great movie, or was it just a good crash scene?
It was a great.
It was a great crash scene.
It's the best crash scene in history. You know, it's still number two.
You can't use Titanic. Wait.
Yes, I can, because Titanic has the exact same effect from it, because it was a bunch of teenage women constantly going back to see that movie. Because I got dragged to that movie 3 separate times by 3 separate women. Damn it, I was a player. I don't give a damn. I got dragged to that movie 3 separate times by 3 different women because they wanted to see this freaking love story. I didn't give a damn. I just got to watch that hour-and-a-half crash sequence.
Okay, wait.
But Jason Momoa, same exact effect, because I guarantee you, if you broke down, if you broke down ticket sales, if you broke down ticket sales over the course of gender, I guarantee you more women saw that movie than men.
You know what? Honestly, I would love to see that. Go ahead. What about Pompeii? What about Pompeii?
Have you seen that movie?
Hell no, I ain't seen that movie.
Okay, so let me just tell you.
I know what you're talking about.
Pompeii has got Jon Snow in it. Okay, so it's got Kit Harington, which is like Jason Momoa. All right, they're both from Game of Thrones. They're both like the heartthrobs in Game of Thrones. All right, it's a movie about. Everyone knows you're gonna die. It's Pompeii. It's just like Titanic. You know the ending of that story, right? So love story. That movie bombed in the box office.
It didn't have the marketing and the money behind it. Like
No, it wasn't good. How about that? It just wasn't good. How about that?
Okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe
it wasn't good.
But like if you're using those same plot points of like that's why that movie is good for Titanic, that movie should equally do the exact. It should be the same, right?
First off, you're pulling out some dude that I personally have never heard of because I don't watch Game of Thrones. I know Jason Momoa from other films. Leonardo DiCaprio is unavoidable. Let's just be honest in that. And again, yes, I know the story of Pompeii, but watching a volcano explode is great. But damn it, I saw Tommy Lee Jones do it a little bit better in that one movie Volcano or whatever the hell it was called.
What about Pierce Brosnan in Dante's Peak? Dante's Peak. Yeah.
It has a terrible Rotten Tomatoes movie. It's got a bad Rotten Tomatoes, but it's a good movie.
Right. Tommy Lee Jones.
So why was the 90s
overall? So sorry.
Why was the 90s all about disaster movies?
No, exactly. Why they had disaster movies? Every 90s had a
I don't know.
era. Oh my god.
Because
I don't know.
Because Independence Day came out and like just shut
94.
Was like
94. Yeah.
That was 96. And after that, you had disaster.
Contact is that a 90s movie?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is actually.
We are all at our core masochists at some point, and we love watching people die. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
No, that's true. No, he's absolutely right.
We all at some point enjoy watching people die.
Yes, and we enjoy like Q. He loves seeing people get killed in Friday the 13th. Like you love it.
I have no sympathy for those teenagers.
Right. Dude, I still swear the funniest scene is JC taking the kid in the sleeping bag and slamming him against the tree. Dude, that shit cracks me up every single time. Every time.
I'm trying to be quiet, but I think Elle secretly likes Batman versus Superman for the first 10 minutes where Metropolis is just getting destroyed.
Disaster porn.
She's trying to be all coy and quiet about it, though.
Yeah, disaster porn. That's all it is.
That's a good theme.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so like with disaster movies, right? There's a lot. Like, what would make you like one over the other one? Is it like the characters? Because like Armageddon or like 2012 or any like I mean some people would like those movies, some people don't, like Day After Tomorrow. But like, why do you like Day After Tomorrow more than another one? Is it the characters? Is it the plot? I mean, they're all.
I think it's the plot. Similar. Like for me, Armageddon I love because of Bruce Willis. Because I love Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Deep Impact.
Deep Impact I love because I thought it was a better story. Deep Impact I like too because it was a better story. They were two similar themes. They had two different parts of execution, but Bruce Willis made Armageddon for me. And the story made Deep Impact for me because I thought the characters were a lot better in Deep Impact. And of course, Morgan Freeman was the first black president that we ever saw on film. So hey, there you go.
You take Independence Day. Look at Independence Day from GQ's point. You got Will Smith first, really big time on the big screen. You got aliens invading. It appeals to a massive audience, and you release it on July 1st. Timing once again that increases the box office. You know, Independence as a film it's pretty good. It's entertaining, not the best in the world, but you know, you get all those factors in play. Jason Momoa with his shirt off, Leonardo DiCaprio love story, Crash for the guys, dinosaurs, and eating people. I mean, like it all.
Yeah. Let's not forget Sylvester Stallone had a bunch of.
He did because
Daylight was the shit. I ain't gonna
What about
that? Was actually a good movie though. I thought.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
On some real shit, Demolition Man is kind of a.
Yes.
Future film like that.
Yes, no, I love that movie. Film. Hey, but let's get back on track. So sorry.
That was on track.
Yeah.
One thing that you said, did you really actually say Deep Impact had a better story than
Armageddon? Yeah, I thought it did. For me,
and you said better characters, which is
for me, yes. For me, I'm not saying for everybody. I'm saying for me. Yeah, I'm saying for me, Deep Impact was a better story, better written characters. That's for me.
That's why he makes that movie good. That's what's good about that movie for him.
That's what's good about it.
Wait a second. And Hand of Omega asked a question that like we consider Jurassic Park as a disaster movie. Not necessarily. It's just an isolated incident disaster. It's an isolated incident disaster movie.
Straight up. I gotta remember, and Shiro has to filter things through the mind of a person that hasn't seen Fifth Element. So I understand why.
Again, how the hell do you people know? It's on Netflix. I told you, it's on Netflix.
What was the Fifth Element then?
Right.
Okay. You know what? I told you we're gonna get back. I told you we're gonna get back on track. Next question right here. Let's go. The next question is.
No. I gotta still finish my point about Armageddon having better.
Go ahead.
Because Bruce Willis's character was freaking Big Nuts Harry Stamper.
I love that guy. He was great.
Freaking Ben Affleck's character was fun to watch, man. Come on. And then you had my man. God, I can't remember.
Yeah, the
Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, you had the Russian cosmonaut who's usually a villain. He was freaking cool. What is the Snaggletooth freaking?
You got Owen Wilson.
Steve
Buscemi. Yeah.
Steve Buscemi was freaking hilarious.
Owen Wilson.
Was actually not
annoying. He wasn't annoying. That was like the only movie he was never not annoying in, right? Like every movie after that, he was annoying as hell.
Then you have Michael Clark Duncan. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Everybody in that movie was good. That was like
right. Well,
I can't remember anybody from Deep Impact.
But wait, look.
And that's all.
But Louis K says, then again, everything Michael Bay makes is garbage. That's what he says.
But see, again,
the only exceptions are the first Bad Boys and The Rock. Those are the only two I
fire, son.
Let me put it to you this way. People hate on Bay. I would take 20% of his box office earning gross over any other director.
I mean,
true.
Have at it what you will. See, Michael Bay is not as bad as people like to make him out to be.
And that's the difference between blockbuster and actually.
Okay, good. You know, honestly, if I had to take a pick between Zack Snyder or Michael Bay, I will take Michael Bay. I'll definitely take Michael Bay over him.
I'll take Zack Snyder on that one.
Oh man, no, you crazy? No, you crazy? No, you crazy?
Zack Snyder, if he's not trying to establish a whole universe,
if he's not writing a story, he's just directing. I'll take Snyder.
Hold on. First off, let's just be straight up. Because again, I said because I'm talking about money. This is a money concern.
It's money. Well,
20%.
Yeah.
Bay has got him destroyed.
Destroyed.
Transformers
Destroyed.
alone.
I
know about the movies.
Yeah.
Three of those 5 Transformers movies have made over $1 billion. So that's some money.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that goes back to the whole point of the whole thing. Box office does not necessarily make a movie good, but damn it, if you line in my pockets, box office is king.
I look at it as like the box office is just being. I think it's a factor, but it's a very small factor. Like it's not a huge factor whatsoever because it's the same at the same time we have to like measure like what quality is better by what movie got Oscars more than the other because that was a thing too. Oh, DC has more Oscars than Marvel at this point. Well,
let's be real. The Oscars are super skewed.
Exactly. So that's why it's like, dude, but it's like if we're going to be petty now, it's like, look, Marvel took the lead in Oscars over DC this past year. And it's like on top of that, it's like if we're going to be honest, they also got more nominations than DC did. So whatever. But once again, it's a small factor. But the thing is, it's like what I look at is like, again, you'd have to consider scheduling. You have to consider, word of mouth, of course, because, just to kind of touch on the Michael Bay thing. Now, Transformers, not very good movies, but hey, the thing is, Transformers itself has a fan base. People are going to introduce their kids to it, so that's going to be multiple viewings. So yeah, it's going to have that. But what happened with that was eventually people started like, okay, this shit's boring now. The stores are not good. These bots are not good and all this, whatever. And that's why the last one underperformed. So, and then again, you go into Bumblebee, which I just recently saw, and I actually really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
But it was nowhere near made the amount that the previous Transformers movies had. Now, that could be because of how people perceive the last couple.
Exactly.
Because it's like okay, another Transformers movie, man.
Right.
But
all right,
but it's like again, it's like a lot of those things play into that. Now, as far as the box office standpoint goes, it's like okay, you could say a movie made X amount of money, whatever the case may be. Doesn't necessarily determine the quality, but it definitely determines what people necessarily wanted to see. So they kind of take that into consideration because it's like, oh, this movie made X amount of money. So we could probably make a bundle on making more movies like this. Some come out good, some come out terrible because, with every, Fast and the Furious, you had a Biker Boys and a Torque,
Wow.
So and nobody remembers Torque or
I remember Torque. Was Torque ever released on Blu-ray? Because I've never found it.
I've seen a DVD. I think I got an old DVD back in this book. Yeah.
So it's like again, like folks that say, "Oh, this genre is making money. Let's do."
All right, let's get the train back on the rails. All right, let's get the train back on the rails. Here we go. So the next thing, if majority rules in determining that a movie is good, and this goes back to what I said before. So if enough people say a movie is good, thereby logically, can you say the movie must be good, or does everybody just have the same shit taste in quality movies?
You can't use it as that's an infallible based in philosophy. Like that type of question is not valid.
Well,
what's that now?
I kind of look at it. I kind of look at it as this like it's one of those things where if supposedly majority rules, so to speak, if we're trying to look at it objectively, okay, the thing is you have to think about how much a certain movie or whatever resonated with a certain amount of the audience. Right. So it's like if a movie has that engagement to where it's like, okay, Fast and Furious movie have certain engagements with the audience because it's fun, it's cars, it's fast, whatever. You got The Rock and stuff in it. People are gonna go for that. So one of the main things is like if the movie isn't engaging you or if it's just bad timing, you kind of have to like step back and look at it and just like, okay, because a lot of people say that Iron Man 3 sucks because of one twist with the Mandarin. Take that out and look at the movie objectively, and it's like, this actually isn't a bad movie.
No, it's not. Buddy cop film. Come on now, we already.
So it's like you kind of have to look. You have to like step back and kind of get out of your own feelings or whatever. Just like everybody, Last Jedi, like Disney ruined Luke Skywalker, but at the same time, you have to step back and look at it. He essentially made a similar mistake the Jedi Order did in the original trilogy. Like, he's not perfect. He has flaws just like any other man. So it's like, hey, that's not impossible. So it's, again, but the thing is that if we all actually sat back and actually stood back and looked at like a lot of things objectively, we see that like there's actually gems in a lot of things that people consider as trash.
Sure.
Because like folks are so focused on one specific thing, like, oh, this character didn't do this like how I imagined him to. It was like, well, it's not your story. You didn't write it. So
that's 100% true. Most people can't be that objective, though. Most people want to.
They can't. They honestly can't. As much as I try to urge people to, it's like, hey, I mean, folks will ride or die for something, whether it's a turd or it comes out like sparkling like a diamond. And because I will, it's funny because I had an interesting conversation with, like, it's the same thing with video games. I argued with this guy. He swears up and down that Mortal Kombat versus DC was a contender against Marvel vs. Capcom.
Man, he crazy. How? Dude, he crazy.
Have fun with that one.
Yeah, that was actually quite funny. So it was, but yeah, man, it's like a lot of times when it comes to like because again, you have to kind of majority rules kind of works a lot of the time. Sometimes, but it really depends on the circumstances, the season, the timing. That plays a big part in whether or not majority supposedly rules whether something is good or bad, or the middle ground just entertaining. Because to a lot of people, Venom was entertaining, but overall that movie was not very good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
And of course, the movie itself, yes, the movie made bank, but let's be real. The movie had Venom in it. People love Venom. People love Tom Hardy.
Exactly. Shirt off. Shirt off scenario.
Making money is the name of the game. John P said the Iron Man 3 twist sucks Iron Man 3 sucks with or without the twist. He wasn't even in a suit most of the film. Then that means you didn't understand what the film was trying to explain about Tony Stark's character during that part of his character arc. Because that was the whole point of the film, is that the suit felt like a trap. It felt like an anxiety, and
it was a crutch.
Right, it was a crutch. It was also, he almost died on the other side of the galaxy in that suit. So that became something he did not want to deal with, did not want to be in, and was basically forced to get back into it because of what was going on. So again, it goes back to what I usually always say when people say that a particular thing sucks with very little explanation as to why it sucks. Not necessarily that it went over your head, but you're, I guess, in a sense, looking in the wrong direction.
Question: can you blame a director though? Because
you can always blame a director. You can always blame a cinematographer. You can always blame an editor. Those are the three most important people on any film set outside of obviously the actors, because those people are the ones that are going to make your story, make or break. You can have the best written story in the world, but if you have a sucky cinematographer or director of photography and he can't shoot it, then you're not going to see it. If you have a horrible director who can't really manage his set, basically, you're not going to have anything for the editor to put together. And if
editors can save films.
Yeah, editors.
I think
the original Star Wars got saved by the editor.
I just wish that they picked a different director, because Shane's Black track record is not the. I mean, in my opinion, that's just my honest opinion. It ain't the greatest, because all he had was Lethal Weapon under his belt, and to be honest, I never was a big Lethal Weapon fan growing up. I mean, I watched the movies. It was cool, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I gotta go see Lethal Weapon. I think he took that same. I think he only know how to write one type of film, which is weird, because the movie he did with Russell Crowe and what's his name? Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Good guy. Yeah, that was a funny movie. That was great for what it was. But it's like I said, it's a buddy cop film, obviously, because they both one was a detective, one was a cop. So I think he can't get out of that same element that he did back in with the first Lethal Weapon movies. Now, if you look at the new Predator movie, right? So the new Predator movie, I haven't seen it, but I know it was trash. But I'm assuming it had that same cadence as a buddy cop film because I heard there was a lot of comedy going on there for no reason, where jokes wasn't supposed to be said, and it just made it even worse. So I'm thinking he only have one style of writing. So when I say Iron Man is terrible, 3 was terrible, is because that's the reason why, because he can only do one like genre of film, which is buddy cop films. Don't get me wrong, I love the aesthetic of Stark having PSTD and not being in a suit, and the whole mansion thing. I forgave that, whatever. But I think if
I haven't,
different direction,
I haven't forgiven him for that. I haven't forgiven him for that.
It is what it is. But hold on. But my point is, if it was a different director, I think Iron Man 3 would have been a solid film that would have, because like I said, all Iron Man films set off the next movie. Iron Man 3 did not set us off for the next movie that got us excited because Iron Man 3 was trash. Like if
I liked Iron Man 3.
I mean, it was a follow-up to the Avengers, so like it had
correct. It should have banged. It should have banged even harder than the first 2 films. But like having that director, they should even picked him. They should have. I know Favreau was doing something else, but they could have picked anybody else besides Shane Black because he only has one style.
And you know what?
The only thing I can say is that they probably got Shane Black because RDJ was cool with him. So it was like. Probably like he's pretty much it's like, hey, why don't we get this guy, like he does good work, just like, but he didn't do good work with the movie, so it just right. It's just kind of one of those things. Obviously that's why he ain't been asked back since.
I think so. I think we need to cover Sabrina's question now. So I like Sabrina's question because that's another thing that it's a major contributor to whether or not a movie is good in people's eyes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I was gonna ask, like, if Michael Keaton was in the Nolan Batmans, would that, like, what would that do for the movie? Would it make it better or worse? Like, I know a lot of people like Michael Keaton is like the best Batman. Like, that's an opinion. Mm-hmm. But is that because of the movie? Is that because he's like the better Batman, right? Or it's like, who's the best Spider-Man actor? Are you like basing your decision that movie is better based on like the actor, the movie, or overall? Because that's what would change your opinion on making the movie good or not.
In that instance,
like Batman. Because let me just say, like, I like Batman Forever, and I know that's like ridiculous. Like, it's not really. See, I like it too.
It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, but it was like right at the start of it.
No, it's like
getting
on the
crazy,
verge, right? Like, so it's like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like. But it's like, that's just like, that's the type of movie that Batman Forever is, right? Like, it's made to that point where it's like, it's there, whether or not he's the, like, one of the better Batmans. It's like based on, you could change your opinion. Like, what if he had a better Batman movie, like with plot or like better like characters that were actually more serious? Like, would it been better?
Well,
I kind of look at that.
Hold on. Man. Let's let Elle go because we haven't heard from her.
Okay.
Let's let Elle go. Go ahead, Elle.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I actually thought Christian Bale and so I guess. But if he'd have been in the one that Michael Keaton was in, would it have been a good? Probably not. But I mean, that's a weird thing. That's a weird.
I'm just asking. I'm just curious because that's why some people would say that whatever Batman is their favorite is that's why that Batman movie is their favorite.
Well, some of that has to do with nostalgia, because you have to think about it. Yeah, a lot of that has to do with nostalgia. Them thinking that 89 Batman movie was the greatest because of who was in it. Like, Jack Nicholson as Joker was absolutely fantastic. We can get rid of Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, and the movie would probably still be just as good because she was just there for me. Like, I didn't really care about
she
her.
Was there,
you know,
she was there as eye candy.
Right, she was there as eye candy, but she didn't bring anything really worth talking about. Robert Wall, same thing. Jack Palance he did his thing when in the moments that he had when he was in it. But it was really about, did Nicholson carry that movie, or did Keaton do enough too? And I think Keaton did do enough to speak to the duality of Bruce Wayne and Batman. But Christian Bale and his Batman was a completely different beast. I don't think you can hot swap actors and think that they'd be able to, carry off the same films. Would Christian Bale be able to do Michael Keaton's Batman?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I don't think that they would be
I
able
don't
to
think
swap.
so.
I was just, more of, is it good because of the actor or the character?
Sometimes it's the impression of the actors leave. Some because Michael Keaton, especially at that time, he was known for his comedic roles. So for him to be more of a serious duality type character, it was an interesting change. And so with his chemistry with Tim Burton after the fact, I mean, he found a way to make it work. And it's I think Val Kilmer kind of is underrated when it comes to that too, because he actually brought a good duality to the character too, because they did focus on him trying to deal with that whole, am I Bruce Wayne, am I Batman kind of thing. And I thought Val Kilmer actually did really good with that, with what he was given. And I honestly really feel like he's probably the most underrated cinematic Batman. So, but
okay, but is Justice League suffering because of Ben Affleck? See that this is
kind of, but
no.
See, there you
it's
go.
because of the directors. Exactly. Batman Begins was a different time for the original Batman. The talent of Christopher Nolan, which Batman Begins is my favorite movie because I think it got the better overall 3-story arc. You know what I'm saying? With Batman starting and with the legal shackles coming back at the end. I like it more than Dark Knight because I think Dark Knight falls a little soft. I still love it, but I think it comes down to the talent, of course, of the actors. But I don't think the actors. If Bale was back in 1989, that'd probably be the same thing. Even if Keaton was in Nolan's, I would think. To me personally, I think the Nolans just comes to together better as a story, and in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't think the actors, you can't really swap them. I mean, they're gonna be the same movie. I think it comes down to that.
And again, pulling off of what Q was just saying, I think the issue is obviously you can't time travel and flip flop them, because again, if you did, Christian Bale would probably have been 12 at that point. So I mean, obviously he couldn't be playing Batman. But I think the other issue is that's where particular movies like that, movies that have iconic moments or roles or iconic pairings, or Batman Begins is iconic. The original '89 Batman in its own way is iconic. That was a collaboration between an actor and a really good director. That's why that pairing is hard to pull apart, because if it wasn't for Tim Burton's vision of what he wanted to do with Batman and Michael Keaton's limitations because of the costume actually brought about a lot of the things that people kind of associate with Batman. It was because the costume was what it was. He couldn't turn his head, physically could not turn his head in that costume. So he did the whole back shoulder turn and all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah, they said it was the heaviest costume to date.
Exactly. So those things came from the limitations of the suit he was wearing. Now, granted, you move forward, technology changes, advances, blah, blah, blah. You get a whole different Batsuit in Dark Knight. So that wasn't something they had to worry about. That didn't become part of the character, because again, Batman, if you look at the way Batman was in '89, and the reason I think Michael Keaton did such a great job, they had to really basically emphasize the menacing element that Batman is. He is he's basically a shadow that shows up, beats the hell out of people, and leaves criminals scared, S-list. That's what he does. And that's exactly what we got out of that movie. Very little talking from him, manageable fight scenes based on, again, the costume being as heavy as it was. You move forward into the Nolan thing, and it's the same kind of thing. It's but it's you had that really annoying, super up close, shaky cam fight stuff when he first, dropped in and beat up 8 guys or whatever.
Right.
And it's just they still tried to focus on the same thing, but since again the times have changed, cinema, and filmmaking has advanced, they did it in a different way. So I honestly, it'd be hard to really picture Michael Keaton, even if you pulled him straight out of '89, kept him in a time capsule, and was in the same shape or whatever. I'd have a very hard time seeing him enact Christopher Nolan's vision. Maybe it could happen, who knows? But just based on what they were doing, because again, Michael Keaton is actually a short guy. That was a lot of camera trickery to make him taller than Jack Nicholson, who was actually physically taller than him. So I mean, just various things. It's just, it could, who knows? It might work, but I think some of those iconic things come from really good actor, really good director. I don't think you can pull one without pulling the other.
Yeah, and to that credit, a lot of people feels like if they would have just had probably Nolan's setup with BVS's ability, it'd probably be the perfect Batman.
Man,
and do some actual detective work.
Right. We still ain't really seen that in a Batman film yet. Not really. Not really. Full on detective work. Not really. But hopefully we get that with the Batman when it finally comes out. So here's the next thing I wanted to ask. What matters more? Okay. Opinions like fan ratings, or ratings from reviewers that have seen the film. What matters in determining if a movie is good? I know a lot of
fans.
See that right there is hard, because
it's hard.
You have to see, this is the thing. You have to be able to. You have to really look at a person especially a person who does reviews on the regular. You have to look at their reputation when it comes to certain films, because a thing is, what reviewers tend to do is that they tend to show their biases towards certain types of films. And it's hard for them to really judge fairly, because it's oh, I don't like X amount of films, and this person did this and that and didn't do that, whatever. Because people those types of people tend to have a hard time taking their biases out. Now, say someone Q, I like to say to them, I'm pretty unbiased with my reviews a lot of the time. I can be. I like to think so. So. It's hard to do. You have to find somebody that can really draw the line between an objective review and fan, be fair, because you can't just be completely stoic with something oh, this did, because the thing is, you have to have some type of connection to something and really give an objective review. But that's something you really have to search for with people who do reviews on the regular. And like I said, sometimes a lot of people that do these reviews show their hands, whether it be movies, video games, TV shows, whatever.
Yeah, I think you got to come from an honest place when you're doing it. That's what I try to do. I how did this honestly make me feel besides my fandom or this and that? How did the whole package affect me as a whole to try to convey it to someone? So my opinions don't matter. I just like to talk, about films, what I'm saying? And I want to give my honest opinion. Then I'm surprised people oh, I really did like it. From that review, I was oh, really? Oh, it's cool. I was just really giving my honest opinion. But you got a lot of yes people out here that try to, go with the masses and things like that. And and they can maybe lead you astray on certain things. But I just I try to look for people that's coming from an honest place and what I listen to them. There's a lot of people with better diction and things like this, and then to be another guy me in my basement just being crazy and talking about it, but I like to take these reviews from an honest place, and I think that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, all the movies going to be subjective. How do you feel about it? I don't know.
Right.
You might feel different than I do. So that's cool. That's a beautiful thing about movies. We can feel different. It can be, what I'm saying? We can talk about it. So I think that's a big awesome thing,
especially if you ask other people what their opinions are. It's because you got those people that have their opinion. No, my opinion is what matters. Screw you.
Yeah, no. I like everybody's opinion. I was oh man, you know what? I didn't like that movie. See, Paul and Marco don't like Venom, but I like it. I had fun with it. I don't know. It's a bad movie. It's kind of a bad movie, but hey, I had fun with it. But I really love his review. So
okay.
So it's just mad respect both ways. So
Okay, so then what purpose would in GQ and Sabrina? and Super Nerd, the rest of you guys come in. What purpose does someone like a film critic, a critic that looks at a movie like a genre entertainment movie? We hate critics because they're unnecessarily harsh on a lot of our favorite films. But is that just because we don't agree with their assessment, or is it because they actually have valid points to point out of what makes a movie good or bad? Should we just discard their experience altogether, or no?
What makes the experience? It's like any YouTube reviewer. What's the difference?
What's the difference between a critic and a YouTuber? Right.
Okay, so my thing is, it's good to listen to them, hear their point of view. That's fine.
Right.
At the same time, to see it for yourself, I'd rather see it from the fans. Because let's say if you say, "Hey, Super Nerd, watch this movie. It's out cold. It has this. It has this." I mean, okay, I'm gonna take your opinion because obviously I know you know movies. Same thing with GQ. I know his aesthetic when it comes to movies. I'm gonna take his advice. Okay, let me check it out. And I'm gonna love it. To me personally, I don't know who's writing the article. I can care less who that person is, because what makes them such the great film critic? You know, do they have background in film? To me personally, to be a film critic, you should have a background in film. You should know about all the camera angles and setups and all that. I don't know if they do have people like that, but I'm not sure. But when people just like some of these critics just shit on these films, it's like, did you see the same film? Because I saw something totally different, brother.
Right.
So that's why I don't really listen to. To be honest, I think YouTube film critics are better than the written film critics.
Because they actually are honest about where they're coming from. With that's fair. GQ, Sabrina, LGZ, what's your opinion on what I put out there? Film critics and their opinions. Should we just discard them?
I think so here's my thing. I think what qualifies a person to be a film critic, right? That's always a question for me, because I watch could I possibly be a critic? I mean, I don't know. Like, what about them proves that they can be? Is it that they can be objective? Like, I don't know what. I mean, because right now it looks like anybody can walk off the street. A homeless person can basically walk off the street and be a goddamn film critic. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just saying, like, I mean,
no, I get you.
What qualifies them for that? I mean, and the one thing I don't necessarily like about film critics is that, as we've learned from, places like Rotten Tomatoes, anybody can get on there, ain't never seen the movie, just give an opinion, and that opinion is like taken like, oh, something serious. You know what I mean?
Well, the fan ratings are usually like that, but the critics, I think they're vetted and they verified that they have seen the movie first.
The only person that I can trust right now is Roger Ebert, and he's been dead for 10 years?
Damn. So basically, you can't trust nobody, huh?
Pretty much. I mean, like, literally, what qualifies them? What are they doing that qualifies them to be a film critic? What have they done that qualifies them to be a film critic? Seriously.
Well, okay.
And nobody can ever answer that for me. And since nobody can, that's the only person that I know that reviewed films for years and years and years from when I was a kid to like Tim, whenever he died, however many years ago. From when I was a kid, he was doing this. I know I can trust his opinion because he's been doing this for 30 years or whatever. But a lot of these people that are doing it now, I mean, I don't know their credentials. I mean, again, I would rather base it on my own self by me going to see the movie than listen to somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, okay. That's what you should do, I think. You should form your own opinion about anything. Yeah, just see it for yourself. How it make you feel.
Which goes to the person's reputation. So
right. Yeah. So then in that manner, what purpose do reviews even serve then? If people are just so willing to discard everybody else's opinion, why do we even? What's the point of having reviews in the first place?
I like to see people get excited about it. You know what I'm saying? Like if Farmer put a review, I'm seeing like something, and you know what I'm saying? I look at it review, and he's excited about it, and he's, like, yo, I want to see that too. You know what I'm saying? It makes me kind of excited too. Like, or if he says it's bad, I'm see it for myself. I'll be like, I might lower my expectations a little bit instead of going in so hype, and might be let down. I don't know. I just, me personally as a film lover, I love to see people just, enjoy talking about film. Same thing as this whole challenge, you know, Culture Nation. We get together, we share our love for the things we love, Culture Junkies. So that's what I get excited about, you know, movie critics, you know. Yeah, I don't trust a lot of them. Some I really do trust their opinions, but I always form my own opinion for myself. So, yeah.
That's usually what it comes down to. It's just like whether a person can really just like if they able to bring like a good energy toward a review, and like someone said in the comment section that they think that like usually fan reviews are more honest, and I do believe that's true. The only thing with like fan reviews a lot of the time is that like sometimes like you run across a person that just feels that their opinion is like, you have like those elitist fans that feel like that their opinion is the only one that matters, and if you don't agree, you're just dumb as hell.
Right.
You know, so but the thing is, when it comes to like the legit, the quote unquote legit critics, they have to examine the cinematography, the audio mixing, the whatever, like they have to like point out everything. It's like, I mean, you kind of take it from sometimes you only have to take it with a grain of salt, because like sometimes those guys like kind of come off as like real snobby. So so it's just like, I don't know, sometimes you have to just be able to like find somebody that can bridge the gap between the two, because then that's not easy. That's why a lot of times you just have to go in, watch it for yourself and make your own decision.
Okay, so GQ, what's your take on this?
Well, I trust the person that's at the center of my universe myself whenever it comes to whether a movie's going to be good or bad. At the end of the day, I mean, I got 40 plus years of movie going experience. So, I mean, I think I'm a pretty good critic of what I like. I don't expect anybody else to be able to tell me what I'm going to like, because they haven't lived my life. They don't know what my proclivities are. They don't know what it is that entertains me. So for, and again, there's no disrespect to anybody that does reviews, no disrespect to people that do this for a living or whatever, but you're not me. So you can't really speak to what is going to be good, in quotes, to me. A lot of people probably didn't like Howard the Duck. I thought that movie was hilarious. I watch it every now and again. It's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, Big Trouble in Little China, as great as that movie is, for a lot of people, that movie wasn't that good. It's like, okay, have fun with that, because that movie's freaking awesome. Yeah. So, like I said, critics sometimes do a good job of getting in their own way because they think they have a particular reputation. It's like, your reputation doesn't mean crap to me. If you say a movie that I like is bad and you give a whole laundry list of why it's bad, you probably ain't gonna convince me that it's bad, because you have whatever reasons you think it's bad. They don't jive with what I think. Hand of Omega's in the chat. He's saying a common mistake is to think critics are useless if they can't do what they critique. That's only partially untrue, because he's saying, you don't have to be able to build a chair or make a chair to judge if it's a good one. That's again, part of that is true. But realistically, if you have critics that are trying to come down on particular things, very, very technical things, sometimes that's just a matter of opinion. Because again, we're going back to even the Iron Man 3 example. Oh, it was a bad movie. Based on what exactly? If a critic cannot break down why they feel a particular thing is bad or wrong, then to me, they're worthless. That's why a lot of fan reviews don't mean anything to me, because it's like you're approaching it from an emotional place. And dude, it's like, that's not subjective. Your emotions are all what's driving your reason you'd like or dislike something. So most fans can't step away from that. They always have to jump at it from, again, it's my fandom. This is what I'm excited about, and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't do anything for me either. So again, I will always go see the thing myself and judge for myself whether it was good or not. I have zero problem spending the money on a movie. Everybody's like, I'm not going to spend money on that. Why not? You spent money probably on cigarettes, food, blah, blah, blah. You could have easily bought a ticket. So
But I have
So-
to say, my point on Iron Man 3 is pretty valid because Shane Black. That's
That's because you dislike Shane Black, and again,
right,
for you,
right.
for you, that's why you didn't like that film. Again, we're coming back to the reason I had zero problems. Well, not zero, but very few problems with Iron Man 3 is for 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I didn't even care about this character until the first movie dropped, and it was like, dude, this is actually really good. Moving past Avengers, obviously I'm going to go see it because it's the first movie after Avengers, but I understood the story they were telling because I knew for a fact, Demon in a Bottle, that issue that it's freaking 1 or 2 issues. Everybody loves to talk about it like it's this big, huge, long story arc. It's like, they're not going to tell you that story. They're just not. Not in today's climate, not in today's, the way things are. They told you a very relevant story with a comic book character that makes so much sense based on what you just saw in the last movie he was in. So that's why I had very little problems with Iron Man, because again, the Mandarin thing, we've already discussed this, but the Mandarin thing doesn't work in today's society. You'd have to do the businessman version versus the Fu Manchu, blah, blah, blah. So making him a terrorist was perfect because, damn it, we live in a post 9/11 society. So that's a very real threat that everybody, a general audience, can get behind. And dude, you got to remember, the movie's got to open in China. I'm just being straight up. So that's why I have very little problems with Iron Man 3, because the story they told was relevant. It brought a character, a fictional character, into a very real world situation, and still at the same time kept that same throughput of, hey, here's the continuing overarching story that we're telling throughout all of these different films. So again, any critic of Iron Man 3, like any person that wrote it, blah, this and that, okay, that's your opinion. Mine is more important than yours because it's mine, and that's, to me, I'm the only one that matters of what I'm going to spend my money on. So I'm not really worried about what other people think.
Okay, so then I guess really in a way, reviews serve a purpose to help people make a judgment that might be on the fence, get people hyped about a movie that they may or may not want to go and see. But I guess it's important, from what I'm hearing, is that the review be able to accurately articulate why that person feels a movie is good or bad. They just can't throw out, colloquialisms and just say, oh, this movie is bad, because nobody really wants to hear a movie is bad based on technicality. It's got to have very valid reasons why it's bad. Like, the story is nonsensical, or, I hate beating this dead horse. Actually, no, who am I kidding? I love beating this dead horse. Batman v Superman has a lot of story problems. That's what makes it unenjoyable for me. That's why I think the thing is trash. I think the personifications of the characters are trash. That's me. Other people like it because, well, I view them as maybe some maladjusted individuals that really love seeing, dark, brooding characters, and an emo Superman that really doesn't inspire anybody. Basically, they spent most of the movie hating this guy. I know I did. But that's neither here nor there. But so I'm hearing that we really want reviews to basically, unlike in Rotten Tomatoes, which is obviously a very flawed system. I mean, we can be very, very upfront and say that's a flawed system because there's no real grading curve that they give on anything. That we want our reviews to basically give articulate reasons why it's good or bad. And not be bogged down by technical errors or technical reasons why the movie is bad. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that right?
Superman's cape wasn't red enough.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
But what I'm saying is that, again, that's subjective.
Here she comes.
No, because
okay.
I'm just gonna say.
No. She said it's subjective. Give it a floor.
I'm saying it's subjective. How you feel about? I know you love to talk about Batman versus. How you feel about Batman versus Superman is subjective, because if I'm not mistaken, that movie made what, $685 million or something like that.
Oh, really?
No, you're thinking Justice League.
You want to go there? Are we playing?
But-
Are we playing the box office game now?
I'm just saying, let me go back to the meme because that's why we was talking about this in the
Okay.
first place. Because this
All
is
right.
what we was talking about, right? That was
Right.
the whole thing about what it was. So,
Right?
I mean, it's subjective. You didn't like it, but a lot of people did.
Did they though?
And I would just say,
Did they though?
haters gonna hate all
did they?
day. Haters
Did
gonna
they
hate all
though?
day.
That's-
Did they though?
They
Did
did.
they? Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Did they
I mean,
really?
But
Did
we're
they
gonna
really?
ignore-
They showed in the hell did.
But
They did.
we gonna ignore
Did
that
they
movie
really?
was like
Okay.
absolutely polarizing amongst fans though.
Right.
I mean, of course,
right.
Of course, people who were gonna see this is the thing, and it goes back to circumstances. For one, people were gonna go see this movie because for number one, it was Batman and Superman in the same movie for the very
Together.
first time.
Absolutely.
Then you had Wonder Woman. Then you had Wonder Woman pop up on top of it. Now, no one is gonna know how this movie is gonna go. All they know is that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the holy trinity of DC, was in this movie. Okay, so of course the folks that were gonna go into it a lot of the time, especially the DC diehards, they was gonna ride or die for that movie no matter what. Okay, however, the thing is, it was not universally praised at all because the movie had a lot of narrative issues.
Yeah,
that was the main.
Lots.
A lot of narrative issues,
Lots.
and that was initially the problem.
Okay, but again, you can
That is subjective.
She's 100% right about that. That's subjective because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The movie exists. The movie was released. It is what it is. Whether it was
Right.
good or not doesn't actually matter because, like she said, it made money. How much did he said make? 700 something?
No, 873 million.
It made less
800.
than 900.
Sorry, so it made
less than
800
Now-
million. It made 800 million on a $500 million budget. So I mean, I'm sorry. That
That's a failure.
But again,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm joking. But Sabrina, no, go ahead, Sabrina. Go ahead, because I don't think you said anything. Like,
I mean, it did, but like in hindsight, Sabrina, it's like if it is true that like they went over budget and went to 500 million, they only barely broke even with that movie, which isn't much of
Barely.
a profit.
Right. At all.
So
right.
because
anyway,
that's the only. That's
It's a
the
Wonderful Life made no movie, and everyone plenty of people watch that every year for Christmas.
Exactly, and that's what, like I said, box office as a strict determinant by itself is never going to be a good indicator because
it's not.
Again, there's going to always be movies that they just basically are made because they're passion projects, or because the director funded it himself, or because the studio said, "Hey, we got a month coming up that we have no movies that are released. We need a movie that's to fill that slot." So again, I'm not saying that box office is a sole determiner. It's obviously a factor from the studio business side of things.
I agree.
Because
Yeah.
As much as people like to harp about the Transformers movies, that's one of the only reasons Paramount is actually is able to still make some of the movies they make, because Transformers is the tentpole that makes them their budget for what they need to make for that year. So you can down Michael Bay and down all these various different directors that quote unquote make trash movies, but these studios need them because they bring in the people that are going to generate that money. So box office has its importance, but it's not a matter of if it's good or bad. It does. It has a job to do.
So let me ask one question. Hold on. Let me ask one question.
Yes.
Would everybody on this panel agree that The Room is a shitty movie?
I couldn't tell you because I haven't seen it. I can tell you because I haven't seen it.
Okay, so
a little bit I've seen. Yes, I concur.
Wait. The Room is always on the list of like the top worst movie, like the top best worst movies, right? It's
No idea what y'all talking about.
But it's considered a classic, though. You know that, right?
The Room?
yeah, I do.
But
Because it's so bad. Like, not because it's great. It's because it's notoriously bad.
Yeah.
It's like a movie is so bad, it's enjoyable.
Make it good. That's what makes it good. It's a cult classic. Cult classics are cult classics because people in a niche or a genre will consider that movie good. It's just like watching Sharknado or any B film, right? So if you
C
watch
or D.
B films, you're gonna start rating those some B movies as like
But to me, cult classic in and of itself is a fallacy because it's like, look, if it needs cult status to become classic, that doesn't necessarily make it good or bad or very lucrative or profitable. Because again,
that's true.
Big Trouble in Little China, I love that movie. From a standard status, everybody thinks it's a cult classic, but it's like, okay, yes, it didn't do great at the box office because look at its competition for that year, but also let's just be real. Either people like the movie or they don't. Either it jives with their sensibilities of what they think is a cool movie or it doesn't. I don't really care about the status of being a classic because, again, Citizen Kane is a classic mainly for a lot of the reasons that Sabrina outlined because of what it did for cinematography, what it did for camera work, forced perspective, all this various camera. Hitchcock stuff is still to this day some of the best stuff ever done. And people still love to throw the class. It's like, dude, it's not about classic. The dude was a visionary. He was doing stuff that was not being done, period. It was.
I watched the top 100 movies of all time.
You watched what?
I watched for a class once.
So what?
I watched the top 100 movies of all time, like off of the AFI list, which is the American. Okay, so American Film Institute. And I just straight up was like, I made it a goal when I was in high school. I'm going to watch the top 100 movies because I figured these are going to be the top 100 movies because somebody said they were. I don't know. So I decided, I'm just going to watch it. So I watched the top 100 movies. I spent like a whole, like 2 summers or something. I watched Citizen Kane and Ben-Hur and like all, like The Godfathers, Forrest Gump, like, I watched all those movies because I was trying to be like, I don't know. I was trying to be like culture myself by watching the top 100.
She's trying to be cultured. She's trying to be cultured. Great Poupon. Go ahead.
But I don't know. Did it make it any better? Because I don't know. Some of those movies are good, and like Citizen Kane, like I thought that movie was boring and I didn't get it. But I know why it's on the list. It's because of like the reasons I already listed before, right? Like some of those movies are there because of whatever they've done for cinema, and some of them are there because it has great acting, like Raging Bull. Raging Bull was like, it didn't win. It was like nominated for an Oscar, but it didn't win. Right? It didn't win. So like for Oscars or like those academies, which are critical reviews, sometimes that doesn't even matter. Saving Private Ryan lost to Shakespeare in Love. And to this day, it bothers me. It bothers me because Saving Private Ryan is a really good movie, and not to take anything away from Shakespeare in Love because that has good acting and it's like a decent movie, but it's like a completely made up history about Shakespeare, which also just drives me nuts. However, some people really like that movie because it's like Titanic.
Here's part of why critics just don't really work with me, and especially the Oscars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Forrest
Gump versus Shawshank Redemption, and that's all I really got to say on that argument because Forrest Gump is not, for me, a better film than Shawshank Redemption.
I agree.
I do not care about him shaking hands with the president, running across the country twice, playing ping pong. That's great. Tom Hanks, again, I like Tom Hanks. He's a good actor. But better than Shawshank? No.
As a complete film,
as a watch over and over again every time.
And as a complete film, you can absolutely say Shawshank was a much better film. And Forrest Gump probably won because it tugged at people's heartstrings. It had, technologically, it had some incredibly, at the time, technologically, it was probably some of the most advanced stuff you had seen in cinema. I mean, to digitally put Tom Hanks in the room with John F. Kennedy and shaking his hand and all these other, great, moments in history that they happened to, transplant him in. It won on the merit of those, but it probably shouldn't have.
It was a national darling. Is what
Okay, but here's the thing. What you're describing is the same stuff that a lot of these comic book movies are doing on the regular.
Oh, yeah.
So again, that's what pisses me off about the whole quote-unquote arts and critics and all this other sort of stuff that vote on the Oscars, because it's like what impressed you and was supposedly so Oscar-worthy back then Same exact stuff being done right now, but all of a sudden, these are comic book movies and popcorn movies. We don't care about that. It's like, okay,
Oh yeah, I can't stand. Yeah, I can't stand that rationale that those critics use. Like, oh, it's a popcorn movie. Yeah, I'm going to dismiss it because I'm artistically I'm more sophisticated than that. Man, fuck out of here with that. I don't want to hear that.
And Christopher Nolan started talking like that too after he was done with the Dark Knight trilogy, and like it probably has to do with probably his relationship with Warner Brothers more than likely, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you contributed to comic book cinema, man. Like, don't. It's like, come on, dude.
Again, I'm not even really worried about that part of it. But again, to me, from a how the movie makes me feel standpoint, Forrest Gump. Again, we didn't grow up in that era.
Right,
but it's like, so maybe for a lot of older people, that was, bring back some memories. I mean, okay, good for you. The '60s and was great, peace, love, and hair grease. But it's just like when it comes down to like a movie like Shawshank Redemption, that was such a well done story. Now, granted, it's mainly the Count of Monte Cristo in its own sort of way, but damn it, that like I remember that movie beat for beat. And Forrest Gump, you look back on it, it's like, okay, I remember he was at the Washington Monument. I remember his girlfriend was singing naked. I remember like he had a kid. I remember it's like little pieces of it. Shawshank, dude, I could probably just straight from beginning to end tell you that whole movie straight through of like what happened to Andy Dufresne and him and Red. So having conversations on the damn baseball field. I'm just like, dude, that movie from a storytelling, from a just everything, the whole movie, the cinematography, everything about that movie was so much better than Forrest Gump. The acting, everything about that movie was so much better than Forrest Gump, yet it got nothing. So to me, that's why
it's failed at the box office as well.
Exactly. That's why critics. That's why critics and reviews. And again, no disrespect to Q and my man Farland Marvel. You guys' reviews are awesome, but I'm saying from the general overall. I don't put a whole bunch of stock in fan reviews, critics, and that sort of thing.
And that's fair. And that's completely fair.
Yeah, they have their whole. And again, I'm not saying you guys, but a lot of people have their agendas and their little things that they trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, look at the agenda against Star Wars, and look at the agenda against Captain Marvel. All these YouTube reviewers, they were coming out, against and shouting down these films because they just had an agenda. They didn't want to see them succeed. So you can't really trust, like you said, you can't really trust them either. So
Black Panther as well,
right? So what can we say matters most in determining a film is good? So based on this almost hour and a half conversation we had on the subject, and can you believe it's been an hour and a half? I feel like we haven't even really hit our second win. We can keep on going if we wanted to, right? But no, I think a consensus opinion on whether a movie is good or bad goes a long way in determining whether a movie is good. I think we said box office, while not the ultimate determining factor, does play a part in determining whether a movie is good or not, because it obviously it's moved people to go and see it more than a few times. If you don't count dollars, I remember I forget who said it in the comments on Facebook. Earlier in the comments, they said over in Europe they don't count dollars, they count tickets. I think tickets would be an even better metric to measure how successful a movie has been doing in the theaters.
Yeah, I would say so, because prices vary like from theater to theater. So ticket numbers actually would make a little bit more sense. Right. And yeah.
So I think another factor I think we can probably we're all kind of uniquely saying in our own ways is overall, and is the film enjoyable? Is the film mostly enjoyable, whether it's a cult classic, whether it bombed at the box office or not? Is the film enjoyable? We're not looking necessarily for technical aspects like GQ talked about with Forrest Gump, beating Shawshank Redemption, because Shawshank Redemption didn't have any nice CG effects in it to make it really stand. It had a much better story, but is the film enjoyable overall? I think a lot of those things also go into determining whether a movie is good or not.
Also, to give him his credit, that was Louis Key that said
that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
about Asia and Europe.
Oh man,
but
man.
Here's the thing: for some of the conspiracy people out there, Disney bought tickets for Captain Marvel, so you can't really use that.
Man, come on, dog. Don't feed into that. Don't feed into that. Come on, man. We know they ain't doing that.
First of all,
they padded the numbers. They padded the box office.
Again, that's really them thinking Disney is the type of people that need to cannibalize their own profits to make a profit. It's like, come on now.
That's so stupid. That's so even the notion is stupid.
They excel at making money. They're not going to spend money like that on their own product. They're just going to let their products be put out there. It made $1 billion. Deal with it.
Right. So I think what makes a movie good, right? Let's sum it up. What makes a movie good? It's entertaining. It has very good word of mouth engagement. It makes people want to go and see it. And it has a healthy, not it doesn't necessarily have to break the bank in the box office, but it's got to be respectable. Like, should we say that a movie like Hellboy is good when all factors say it isn't good? Probably not. Should we say a movie like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which didn't break the bank in the box office, but is, after as the years have gone by. Dude, I watched the movie again yesterday. It's like my first time. I still enjoy that movie. I still enjoy that movie. So I think you can't necessarily always look at box office, but definitely the quality of the movie, your enjoyment of the movie. Not get too bogged down in what the majority opinion says it is. You're gonna always hear differing opinions of whether a movie is good. Like, me and Elv on Batman vs Superman, she looks for different things, whereas I'm looking at it just from a straight up fan of comic books. That movie was trash. She says it wasn't trash. She's welcome to her opinion, but the majority says that the movie was kind of not very good. Does that mean it's not good to her? No, of course not. No, of course not. But I think a consensus opinion that we can all come to on whether a movie is good is kind of what matters. But ultimately, what makes a movie good? Your own personal opinion. That's what makes a movie good. Your own personal opinion.
Yep,
I agree.
Because what works for you doesn't necessarily work for the next person. It's like, and that's okay. It's when we try to force how we feel on other folks that's the problem.
Now, Hand of Omega's over there in the chat saying, "Don't forget quality. Quality is another subjective thing. It's highly subjective. Like, people can, like GQ said, people can look at Big Trouble in Little China and say that's not a quality film for any numerous reasons, but to other people, it's one of the greatest films of all time." Daido Kuchi, I'm looking directly at you. It's one of the greatest films of all time. Like, seriously. So quality is subjective. You can't really put quality in there. Jeremy Ponte was in the chat, dropping a lot of knowledge about, what he thinks makes a good movie or not. And I respect a lot of his opinions. But like he said in the chat, in the thread that we were having back and forth, while he says he had a lot of fun in Aquaman, he acknowledges that, structurally it wasn't a good film. Mm-hmm. Right? So go ahead, GQ.
I'm just gonna say that Infinity War is off that list of, you can't debate that one. That movie is good. So everybody on that one. Infinity War and Endgame are about to be two of the best movies. They about to knock Citizen Kane off of that little crappy list.
Yeah. William Sayrose, I'm gonna let him have the final comment from the chat over in YouTube, and this is a very good one. He says, "Time is a factor. Some movies seem amazing at first, but does it hold up, or were we just fans amazed at something new? Transformers, Blair Witch, Avatar, and even looking at Forrest Gump and Shawshank, what held up? Shawshank, we could say, held up probably to a lot of people. Transformers probably did not. Blair Witch definitely did not. Avatar absolutely did not stand up, because if you take 3D away from Avatar, is that even a special movie? Hell no. It's not.
It's a very basic.
It's not.
Very basic ass.
Right.
Though, like that Jurassic Park, the first one when that T-Rex escape is one of the best directed scenes I still ever seen in my life.
Right.
I still believe that shit.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I was like,
But
Jaws still scares me.
Hold on. Let me explain one real quick fallacy with that whole T-Rex escaping thing. So the T-Rex broke the fence down and stepped out, and making a little earthquake, little bubbles in the water and all that, right?
Yeah.
So why in the next scene, when we see that Jeep go over the edge, it was a 25 to 30 foot high wall? T-Rexes ain't that damn tall.
Stop looking at it so hard.
I mean, that's the truth. You can't
The technology that's making that part of the movie bad. Just like
Cinematography error. It happens.
No, that was a scripting error because again, now granted, in the movie theater, loving that scene, loving the suspense of dang, there's a Jeep about to fall on these people. You know it wasn't going to, but damn it was a cool scene to watch. But I was just sitting there like now T-Rex is my favorite dinosaur of all time.
Right.
And that boy
big dog.
was not known for his jumping ability.
At all.
How in the hell did he just suddenly just step on out over that 20-foot drop like it was?
I know,
nothing?
right? Yeah. I know, right?
You're closer in the mirror.
Maybe that was one of the T-Rexes that could actually use his arms for some climbing or something,
Right.
Again, that doesn't take me out of the movie. Jurassic Park did its thing, but that's one thing that always kind of bugged me. But movies have their thing. Whether they're good or not, man, it's up to you. Straight up. Because for me,
absolutely it is.
For me, what I'd go pay my money for, because I saw Hellboy yesterday, that was terrible. But damn it, somebody else might like it.
And some people do. Beth Grip did. Some people did. Obviously, some people did. But hey, I hope you all have fun enjoying this long discussion we had on what makes a movie good. I know I had a great time. I know GQ had a great time. Fallen Marvel did. Sabrina and Q and LGZ. I know you all had a good time. Fallen Marvel, did you have a good time?
Oh, most definitely, sir. I always enjoy talking about movies and the impact it has on our consumerist economy.
Right. So. Right. And as we've been talking about, all throughout the show, next week is probably going to be we're going to be discussing probably the biggest movie of all time, maybe. We might be discussing the biggest movie of all time. So next week's show is all about Avengers Endgame, because really that movie deserves all of our time next week. It really does. Like, we're gonna be so excited to talk about that movie next week. So we hope that you come back and you join us. For those of us that have watched the show for the first time, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you follow us here on Culture Junkies on Facebook, and like us over there on our and follow us also on our YouTube channel, where you can watch the replay of this very show. If you caught the tail end or jumped in the middle or came in at the end, you can always go back to the beginning over there and watch it in its entirety. Just put it on and listen to it in the background as maybe you're doing work tomorrow. So we had a great time. Next week we're going to be on at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. We hope that you enjoy it. Join us right then and there. If also follow us on Twitter. You can catch all our show updates on there as well. So for all of my friends here on the Culture Junkies panel, I'm Kenshiro. We'll see you guys next week. Avengers Endgame time. The wait is almost over. Gotta say that out of that.
Oh yeah.
Who's taking off work to go see it?
Me. I already said I'm taking off. I'm not gonna be at work on Friday. I already said it. I already put in my time.
I got my man. 2 days.
William Sayroll just subscribed. Thank you, fam. Appreciate that, sir. We hope to see you back next week. Peace out now. See ya.